coming womp of the nation's capital. Get ready for invigorating talk, commentary, and debate on the issues affecting your life. Grab your favorite drink. It's Nightcaps with Nate. Now, here's Nate.
What is going on, America, and around the world on YouTube and Facebook Live? Make sure that you like and subscribe and share this. Yes, we are off to a new start. If you guys were with us before, you know, normally I would have guest hosts lined up, but this is kind of the beginning, so I'm still lining them up. I like two-way dialogue. I don't like to just monologue like, let's say, Rush Limbaugh did, or I don't know, Bill Maher and all that. I like to have guests. I like to have that stuff. But today, it's just going to be me starting out. We're going to start out really with the rapid headlines. Again, make sure that you like and subscribe. That helps us out. That spreads the word. Spread the word around. Go ahead and Facebook share this to any groups that you think would be interested. I don't know exactly how to tell you to do it. You can check us out on all of our social media. Bottom left-hand corner of your screen is all of our social media. Really excited to keep going with this. This time I do plan on sticking it out and going at least all the way through to Election Day 2024. And what an election day we're going to have. It's looking like Trump's going to win. Now, you know me, I'm more right of center kind of guy. Really kind of just a libertarian. But I always said if Trump would have just shut his mouth, he would have won by a landslide. I don't care what you say about the cheating. I don't know, you know, the January 6th and all that stuff. You got Liz Cheney, who's now saying, oh, Trump wins, you know, we're in trouble. And what is it about Republicans, by the way? Why do we always turn on ourselves to try to appease a media that's never going to like us? The media only likes us. And Lindsey Graham learned this the hard way. He's still alive. John McCain, the Maverick, media pumped him up until he went against Barack Obama, and then they were biased against him too. So I don't know why Republicans always try to appease the media. It's just so stupid. And that is one good thing about Trump. Trump takes on the media, and people love that. And I love it. I mean, I think what he's done with the media has been great. The problem with Trump is he'll say a billion good, you know, he has great policies. He'll take on the media, but then he'll get on his Twitter at 2 a.m. and just say something so stupid that it kills his chances with the moderate women voters. And we need those. Whether you like it or not, women tend to be a little more moderate than the males. I'm here in the Washington, D.C. area, in the very tip of West Virginia, where it meets Loudoun County, which is a very liberal, very rich county, one of the wealthiest counties, probably if not the wealthiest county in the nation, in Virginia. And I'm also next to Maryland. Like literally, I could drive 20 miles north, be in Pennsylvania, 5 miles east and be in Maryland, and 5 miles south and be in Virginia. That's how close I am to Washington, D.C. And you know, you get a lot of diehard men here, and they'll vote for Trump no matter what. They love him. They believe everything he says. They would have been the ones when Trump, who said he was just joking, but he wasn't, said, oh, we should just inject this disinfectant to our veins and kill COVID. Yeah, obviously, that's a stupid remark. But policy-wise, he was great. And if he would have just shut his mouth, he would be president right now. We wouldn't have to worry about all this Bidenflation, all this rapid price increases. I mean, I just ordered some groceries from Walmart, and it's $290. $290 back in just 5 years ago would have gotten me 2 baskets worth of food. So he kind of did to himself. So this election's coming down to some demented old guy who can't even walk upstairs of Air Force One without tripping, can't ride his bike without falling, military parade's tripping. He gets off, you know, a speech and he has no clue where he's going. He's like, you know, and some aide has to rush over real quick and get his geriatric ass off the stage versus probably a convicted Trump. Now, would I take Trump over Biden? You bet. I'd take Trump over Biden for one big reason is that Biden's next in line is Kamala Harris, and she's dumber than he is, and she's half his age. So, obviously, I would be a Trumper when it comes to election time. Do I prefer some new blood? Yeah, I like DeSantis, but DeSantis is not very good on the quip. Maybe that could be a good thing. But, I mean, where is the Trump policies would say the Reagan speech, ability where he could just come off the cuff. Or Bill Clinton, not politically, but Bill Clinton had a masterful thing where he could go in to any room, and Bob Dole, who was the Senate Majority Leader at the time, said, "Hey," they'd say, "Hey, how did he get that deal struck with you? Like, how did you give in?" And he was even dumbfounded. He said, "When he gets into the room, he makes you feel like you're his best friend." And obviously, he had charm of women too, with Monica Lewinsky under his desk. But anyways, moving on, we're going to go into a segment called the Rapid Headline Commentary. Basically, these are just going to be the headlines that I am going to show with my pretty little face here, and go over each of these headlines and just give a little commentary. So the very first one is a Trump remark. So apparently Sean Hannity asked him, "Are you going to be a dictator?" He's like, "On day one I am." And now everybody's like, "Oh," freaking out. Now, obviously, that may have been a joke, but it's just kind of stupid. He gets really confident with himself. He's actually got a little overconfident sometimes, and he just says stupid stuff. Next one, the U.S. military bases green energy project with the Communist Party of China ties disconnected over national security concerns. Duh. I want to find out who authorized that. What bureaucrat in Washington said, "Hey, yeah, let's get the Chinese Communist Party, probably our number one military enemy, probably the only one that could really take us on, and let them be on our military basis for green energy." And who the hell are they to talk about green energy? They got the most polluted cities in the world. I've never been to Beijing, but I heard you can't even breathe there. Next one is Saudi Arabia urges U.S. restraint as Houthis attack ships in Red Sea. Saudi Arabia is the first one to call us whenever they have a problem. Okay, so I get it. Saudi Arabia is, in my opinion, worse than Iran, but they have a lot of oil, and Iran attacked our embassy in the 70s, and that's how Reagan got elected, because he had to come in and save Carter's butt because he is so weak militarily. That's why we call Biden the modern-day Carter, if you remember that Afghan withdrawal. I would tell Saudi Arabia, thanks for the advice. We got this, dog. Kiev assassinates pro-Russian Ukrainian politician outside of Moscow. I'll tell you what, and we're going to get into this a little bit with Israel. They're not playing around. They fight wars the way wars are supposed to be fought. They don't give a flying freak, if you know what I mean. Takes a lot of balls, a lot of real good intelligence to go into Moscow or outside Moscow and kill a pro-Russian Ukrainian politician. Skip over the Rwanda bill. I don't know much about that. UN Security Council discussed Gaza ceasefire after Guterres invokes a red rule. I don't know what the rule is, but it's funny. Everybody's all about Ukraine kicking Russia out, giving them arms and everything else. But as soon as Israel defends its own borders, every liberal who is pro-gay, pro anything going along, and I'm a libertarian, so I'm not pro-gay per se. What I am is live how you want. It's a free country. Just don't put the bill on me. I was one of the first ones against Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because I think when a soldier's off duty, they should be able to do whatever the heck they want. So I kind of think socially a lot like a liberal, fiscally very conservative. But these liberals are defending Hamas and all these pro-radical Islamic groups that would hang gay people still. In Iran, they still hang gay people for being gay. Okay, and I really do believe you're born gay. I don't think anybody would grow up with the humiliation of modern society, especially in the 80s when I grew up and you had to stay in the closet. I just don't get how liberals are always so against themselves. And then what's worse is the Jewish liberals support liberals who hate them. Get that. None of those people out there chanting in the streets for Palestine are conservatives. They're not Republicans. They're not libertarians. They're literally leftist ideologues on the Democrat Party. Moving over to the very biased New York Times, Republicans block Ukraine aid bill over border objections. I don't blame them. Should they play politics at? No, I don't know. But why are we going to sit there and defend Ukraine's borders and we don't even defend our own borders? And I'm not just talking about immigrants. I'm very pro-immigrant. I think we should have a wide open immigration system that's legal, especially from India, where I'm a tech recruiter, and they pump out some of the best computer scientists, AI people, all that stuff. We should have so many H-1Bs allowed in without all the rigmarole, because guess what? We're on a global competition in this AI war against China, who also pump out really good scientists. And let's face it, we have some really good schools here, but we don't have a lot of STEM graduates. I recruit in big tech, and I'm telling you, a good portion of our hires are from Eastern countries where they have great STEM education, great engineers. Our atomic bomb, if I remember right, was a German immigrant. That's what won us the World War II and gave us superiority over, well, since then. We're still the lone superpower of the world, with China fastly catching up, Russia catching up a little bit, although they've been kind of exposed. But I am for a strong border. We got to stop the fentanyl coming in. We can't just let anybody in willy-nilly just because they want to. And I'm talking people that really are great people. I've hired immigrants when I had a construction company, but most of them are very uneducated and very poor and come with medical problems, and somebody has to pay that bill. And since we pay the highest cost for medicine, and each kid that goes to school per year is $10,000 to $12,000, $15,000 a kid, you times that by millions of people just flooding in, we can't afford it. There's a point where we can't afford it. Now, do we need low-wage workers? Yeah, sure. But what we need to do is cut welfare entitlements and make people go back to work. Nothing cures unwilling to work for 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour like hunger pains. Biden calls on Congress to approve aid to Ukraine. This cannot wait. Okay, kind of ties into what we just talked about. U.S. charges 4 Russian soldiers for war crimes against an American. Yeah, they don't fight wars like we do. We signed the Geneva Convention. I believe in the Geneva Convention. However, we also got to take our gloves off. And that's what we learned the hard way in the Middle East. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he's the one that just got ousted. Again, I didn't like that. I don't like all these fights for, having to take ballot after ballot after ballot for Speaker of the House. It makes us look like, why the hell would they give us the majority in 2024? We couldn't even, it took us two rounds. Well, we're on our second Speaker of the House because we ousted the first one, which took like 11 or 12 ballots. Okay, that's unheard of. And then the second one took another 10 ballots. All because some people couldn't just get together and say, hey, you know what? The House is a little bit about compromise. Yes, you come, you represent your people. If they are so hardcore, if they do not want a certain thing, then vote against it. That's what a representative is. They represent your section of people, that part of the country. But that doesn't mean you can hold up speakerships and everything else. It's silly. We're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic, but we're very close to a democracy, and it's anti-democratic. Senate Republicans block assault-style weapons ban. Good. We're going to learn why that's pretty important, that we have these assault-style weapons, and all they are is, if I took a Chevette or a Kia Prism, the engine, the transmission, everything was somehow could fit it into a Corvette body, it's still a weak car. That's what an assault weapon is. It's a 22 caliber weapon or similar in a fancy body. That's it. That's it. People don't realize that. They say, oh, that's scary. That's a scary looking weapon. Well, it should be scary. It's a weapon. And then they say, well, you don't need AR-15 to go deer hunting. That's not what they're really for. They're for personal protection and what we're going to look at a little bit later. So let's move on to the next slide here. So, going back to Ukraine and Israel, they're badass when they come to fighting wars. They're closing in around this guy here. He is, you can see him in the bottom right there. I forgot his name, but he is a nasty, nasty dude. He's the mastermind behind their version of 9/11 that just happened not too long ago, and the reason why for this war. But they've encircled his house, and they straight up said, hey, our role is to reach others, that's named Sinwar, and kill him. It's not capture him, not what we say, bring him to justice. Nope, it is to circle him and kill him. Easy. That's what we do in war. We kill people. But he's likely hiding underground via these groups' 300-mile-long tunnels. So, they have all these tunnels that are fortified and kind of looks a little bit like this right here. Well, Israel, again, badass. They said, man, we got this huge sea. What if we just pumped all these tunnels with water? They'd be uninhabitable. They would either drown or get out. But they're even saying, hey, we could pump it just 3 feet of water because it'll take a long time to pump 300 miles of water into tunnels. But what it's going to do is really it's going to flush them out and make it easier for the Israelis to kill these terrorists and maybe even rescue the hostages, because the hostages are probably in those tunnels. And it's sad, but it's true. I mean, we're dealing with ideologues. They hate them. They hate the Israelis more than they love their own children. That's why they will literally use suicide bombs and all types of stuff. Poor intelligence. Man, I wish I had my show when this came out. They had when those attacks happened, which were grisly, caught on video. They literally flew in on, I forgot what they're called, but I mean, they're like paragliders with engines on them, or right over their border. And there was intel saying that it was going to happen, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who is usually a very strong leader, totally ignored the intel. I've been so stupid. There's bluffing. Apparently, they're training right out in the open. Now, Israel has some of the best, absolute best, what is it called, the Mossad or something, intel agency that there is. They're the ones that go in and just like assassinate people and stuff. How they missed this warning. Same thing that happened with Bill Clinton sleeping during 9/11. And 9/11, they actually attacked towers on his watch the first time. It just didn't work very well. So they went back and said, hey, what if we take big passenger jets and just blow them into buildings? And that's how we got this into that situation in the first place. So countries can never, ever, ever just rely on best case scenario. Same thing we did with Iran. You'll never get a nuclear weapon. Guess what? They probably got a nuclear weapon. Said it about North Korea. Well, they'll never. That's a red line. We're never going to let them have a nuclear weapon. Why? Because once any country, regardless of size, has a nuclear weapon, they're untouchable. Nobody wants to go to nuclear war. In fact, these despot countries and leaders like Kim Jong-un and North Korea, they're not scared to use it. That's why Trump was so effective, because he wasn't scared to just say it. We got a bigger button, Rocket Man, or whatever he said, and everybody beat up on Trump, but that's true. Bullies have to be met with that kind of resistance. That's why President Putin invaded Ukraine under Obama, waited 4 years until Trump was gone, and then did it under Obama's former vice president, President Biden. No joke. That's how scared they are of Democrats. Going on, man, I worked in the federal government, and I'm not hating on all federal employees. We all know that a few bad apples can spoil the bunch. Unfortunately, in the federal government, man, that union and their protections under their civil service board and all that, they're bad workers. Not on average, just a lot of bad workers. More than the civilian world. Because the civilian world, they can just fire you. It's nearly impossible to fire a federal worker. My wife worked at the Veterans Affairs, and she was telling a story about a lady who would wheel old veterans down to an ATM right outside the gates of 7-Eleven, take his money, wheel him back, and she got caught doing it. Still hasn't been fired. And then a lot of times if you get fired, they'll throw in an EEOC complaint or EEO complaint, and like the Army won't even fight them. They'll just pay it out and then go ahead and continue to fire them. So they get $25,000 payout because it's just too expensive to fight it. No, by the way, it doesn't come out of the Army's overall fund, or it'll come out, it by law has to come out of the department's fund of the actual agency at that actual office. So they're hurting. So do you fire them and lose $25,000, or you just push them off to the side and just lose productivity? And that's why. So normally, the reason why I bring all that up is normally I would not be against telework. That's how outdated the federal government is. They call remote work telework still, like you working on a telephone. So stupid. But we have all this. If you've ever been to DC, there's this government building after government building, and it sprawls all around DC. And some of these offices have literally 7% of their workers actually working on a daily basis in the office now. Now, I know a lot of good government workers, like I said, but I also know a lot of great people that I would have a beer with, Nightcaps and Nate. That's what we do here, right? That are absolutely lazy when they're on telework. Absolutely don't get nothing done on telework. So if you could say, let's say 1 out of 4 people on telework don't do the right thing. 3 out of 4 do great. We'll just give it that. And I don't even know if it's that high. If you have 93% of HUD or the Social Security Administration, HUD's the one that solves the homeless problems. You remember all the migrants that we've been forced to let in and now they're sleeping on the streets? Small Business Administration, supposed to be helping small business. USDA, they're the ones that administer all the food stamps. OPM, Office of Personnel Management, they are HR for the federal government. Department of Transportation, the Veterans Affairs. I don't know what NSF is, but all those, 7 to 14%. So let's just use the HUD. We're not 7% are in the office, 93% are at home. If 1/4 of them aren't really doing their job, there you go. That's why if you ever try to call a government agency, you'll be on hold. You don't believe me? This is the only reason, really. I'm not totally against socialized medicine, but giving the federal government all of our medicine, hell no. I got a great Veterans Affairs where I'm at, kind of out in the country, kind of crazy that we even have a huge hospital there, but we get patients all the time coming in from Baltimore, Washington D.C., and they said the customer service is so poor there. Can I help you? You know, like you're bothering them because they got this great government cushy job that they can never lose. Medicine is poor, no accountability. I'm telling you what, if I had it my way and I was President Nate for the day, right? Nate for president, and I had a magic wand where I can get Congress to do whatever I would do, I would take every non-essential government worker, and what I mean by that, people with the power to kill people, so soldiers, police, that kind of stuff, they would have to remain government employees. The rest of them, contract them out. Contract them out or get rid of the Civil Service Protection Board. It's a bloated, out-of-date tool used to keep employees that have no business keeping their job, that would never make it a day or a week in the civilian world on a civilian company. And that's why we use a lot of our contractors. That's why we're going to lose the AI war in the federal government, because we are so hampered by regulation. Can't fire somebody. You got to go through all this bidding. By then, AI has already changed 100 times. China doesn't have to do that. Russia doesn't have to do that. North Korea doesn't have to do that. They just, oh, well, they change. We need to rein in the federal government. And that's what they mean by that. Nobody's against big government, not even me. What I'm against is inefficient government. And I think that's what everybody's hating on. This next story really gets my goat. I've had friends that are females, and if you're in an abusive relationship, get the fuck out. Excuse my language. Get out of the relationship. It's not going to change. It will never change. I don't care how sorry they are. They're going to come back and someday beat you again, and it gets worse and worse and worse. There's helplines. There's all types of places you can go to. Women's shelters that are secret. Here, this guy's going to go to prison, thank God. He did plea it down, but the judge gave him the maximum sentence, even though he has never been in trouble with the law, per se, because the 9-year-old out of the 4 kids had the common sense, or the bravery, I should say, to record the beating. And I guess it was a six-minute beat down. California husband who was caught on video recorded by his 9-year-old child brutally beating his wife in front of the kids, sentenced to 4 years in prison, which was the max, pled no contest to felony domestic violence, false imprisonment, and misdemeanor child abuse, because I guess one of the kids tried to intervene and he like spanked the kid and tossed away and then resumed beating on the mom. Learned that during investigation, deputies learned that Lazaro Castillo's youngest child had videotaped the mother's brutal assault, recording, clocking in at more than 6 minutes of straight beating. Reportedly showed the married dad repeatedly jabbing his wife in the face and head. She's probably unconscious. So it probably was a very brutal beating. So, ladies, men, if you're in a domestic violence situation, walk away. There's help for you out there. I know it seems hopeless. Just walk away. This right here is why we need assault weapons. The Israelis are smart. Well, they weren't very smart because nobody had weapons at the time, but now people are carrying assault weapons around. Do you blame them? It's a small country surrounded by enemies. that apparently can fly in on gliders and kill 1,200 and take, 300 hostage and brutally murder most of the people that were taken hostage. This, folks, is why we have a Second Amendment. It's not just for the protection of ourselves. It's not just the protection against tyranny. That's why we have National Guards. But it's also the protection against other countries ever coming in. I remember in the 80s, and I think they remade it in the early 2000s. It was a cool movie. Me and my brothers loved it. It was called Red Dawn. And the Russians are coming in and, setting up concentration camps. And apparently the U.S. military was asleep or something. I don't know. But until the military could come in, they formed like little militias with shotguns and rifles and stuff and started taking over the bad Russians back in the Soviet Union. And, it was a really good movie. They take their weapons and then they get stronger and stronger and stuff. So really good movie if you want to check it out, Red Dawn. But that's why we have a Second Amendment right there. In fact, here's what I always say to people, like, they make fun of rednecks. But when you watch, like any of these movies, I forgot what the movie is. It's like a zombie takeover, and it has Woody Harrelson in it, and he's like this redneck guy, Believe me, if there's an apocalypse or something that happens, that's who you're gonna want to go run to. You're not gonna try to go run to DC and find some feminine, non-toxic masculinity male. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying toxic masculinity is good. I'm just saying you go find those people that are probably Republican or vote right or center, right? Oh, yeah. If you have arachnophobia, I'm sorry about this next one. Again, what good? I mean, there's good technology and stuff that comes out of China, but what good? Does everything bad, coronavirus, whatever, come out of China? Or Africa, I guess, too, but really just China. Giant 8-inch spiders from China are set to invade the U.S. Black and yellow critters seen parachuting through the air on the East Coast and will soon hit New York and New Jersey. Researchers estimate that 8-inch Joro spiders likely to spread. Good news, yes, they bite, and yes, they're venomous, but for most people, it won't kill you. So that's the good news. It's more like a bee sting, it says. That's from the Daily Mail. And that wraps up our show. Yes, it is a lot smaller of a show this time. I try to shoot for an hour, about 45 minutes. But I am glad that I am started. I'm glad that you're with me. I really, really enjoyed this time. Oh, let me transition so you can see me. Really enjoyed this time with you. Keep coming. Subscribe. Share. Let's get together over a drink. Pretty soon we'll have other guests. We'll debate. Any comments, any story ideas that you want, put in the comment section. Really, really enjoyed doing the show with you. And I will see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And that wraps us up.
This has been Nightcaps with Nate. Please join Nate for a nightcap every weeknight at 9 Eastern here on Facebook Live.